Imagine waking up in the dead of night, not because of a noise outside, but because of a noise inside. The air is thick, humid, sticking to your skin like a second layer of clothes. You live in a locked house. The doors are bolted. The windows are latched. You are safe, or so you think. Then you hear it, a chop, a crack, the sound of steel biting through wood. You freeze. Your heart hammers against your ribs like a trapped bird. You know who is out there. Everyone in the city knows. He isn't breaking in to steal your silver or your cash. He is breaking in to end you. Between 1918 and 1919, the city of New Orleans did not just sleep. It held its breath. A phantom walked the streets, wielding a blade that became the stuff of legend. He was called the Mad Axeman, but was he a man at all? Or was something darker stalking the French Quarter? Tonight, we unlock the doors of history to find out what really happened during the Mad Axeman panic. This is not just a story about murder. It is a story about a city consumed by terror, where the shadows themselves seem to have teeth. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, we dive deep into the mysteries history tried to bury. From unsolved crimes to supernatural phenomena, we explore the shadows so you do not have to. Before we step into the darkness of 1918, I need you to do something for me. If you enjoy true crime and historical mystery, hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm show this story to more people who love the macabre. And please subscribe and ring the bell. You will not want to miss what we are uncovering next month. Now, lock your doors, turn off the lights. Let us talk about the Axeman. To understand the panic, you have to understand the atmosphere. The year is 1918. The world is reeling. The Great War is finally ending. But a new enemy has arrived. The Spanish flu. New Orleans is a city of jazz, of culture, but also of deep superstition. Fear is already in the water. The heat was oppressive, a physical weight that pressed down on the rooftops. The homes were mostly shotgun houses, narrow wooden structures where the front door opened directly into the living space. They were charming, but they were vulnerable. A single chop could breach the entrance. A single step could bring death into the bedroom. The first attacks were subtle. Burglaries where people were struck unconscious. Then the violence escalated. The killer was not picking locks. He was chopping through the panels of wooden doors with a razor-sharp axe. He targeted Italian-American grocers mostly, leading investigators to believe this was a vendetta. The mafia hit gone wrong. The community was tight-knit, and when one family was struck, the whole neighborhood felt the wound. But the police were grasping at straws. The killer was elusive. He struck on Sundays. He struck when the moon was dark. He would chop a hole in the door, reach through to unlock the deadbolt, and step inside. Once inside, he did not always kill. Sometimes he would strike people in their sleep and vanish before anyone woke up. Imagine the psychological toll. You go to bed wondering, is tonight the night? Parents slept with weapons under their pillows. Neighbors stopped trusting neighbors. The city was paralyzed. The press dubbed him the Axeman of New Orleans, but the people knew him simply as the Mad Axeman, a monster wearing human skin. There were nights when the entire city seemed to wake up at the same time, straining their ears against the silence, praying they would not hear the splintering of wood. By early 1919, 5 people were dead. Several others were critically injured. The police had no suspects, no fingerprints, no footprints. just the sound of chopping wood echoing through the quiet neighborhoods. The investigation was a disaster. Detectives questioned hundreds of people. They offered rewards. They formed vigilante groups. But the Axeman was always one step ahead. He knew the layout of the streets. He knew when the patrols passed. He knew how to disappear into the fog that rolled off the Mississippi River. The failure of the law enforcement created a vacuum of fear. People began to take justice into their own hands. Armed groups patrolled the streets, shooting at shadows, creating an atmosphere of war within the city limits. But then the story took a turn into the absolutely bizarre. March 13th, 1919. The local newspapers received a letter. It was signed by the Axeman himself. In chilling detail, he claimed he was not a man at all. He called himself a demon. He said he was born in hell and that he would return to claim more souls. The handwriting was jagged, the ink dark, the words dripping with arrogance. He mocked the police. He mocked the citizens. He told them he was everywhere and nowhere all at once. But then he made an offer, a deal with the devil. He claimed that on the night of March 19th, he would strike again. However, he promised that any house where a jazz band was playing at full volume would be spared. He wrote, "I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in hell that I will not molest any house where people are playing jazz." You might think the city would ignore the ramblings of a madman. But fear makes people do irrational things. On the night of March 19th, New Orleans turned into a massive party. Every dance hall, every club, and even private homes blasted jazz music. The streets were filled with sound. People stayed awake, dancing until dawn, terrified that if the music stopped, the Axeman would come. Musicians played on street corners. Families gathered around pianos in their living rooms. The air was filled with trumpets, trombones, and drums. It was a symphony of survival. When the sun rose, there were no attacks, no new bodies. The city erupted in celebration. They believed they had outsmarted the demon. They believed the music had saved them. But was it the jazz that stopped him? Or had he simply finished what he came to do? Some say the letter was a hoax written by the police to calm the public. Others say it was the killer mocking them. But after that night, the murders stopped. As suddenly as they began, the mad Axeman vanished into the humid air of Louisiana. So who was he? Over the decades, several theories have emerged. The most popular suspect was a man named Joseph Mumford. He was killed by police in a shootout shortly after the murders stopped. Some officers claimed he was the Axeman, but there was never concrete proof. His house was searched, but no axe was found. Yet the police were convinced. They believed he was the one. But when he died, the secrets died with him. There was no confession, no final words, just a body on the ground and a city left wondering if the true killer was still out there. Then there are the darker theories. New Orleans is the heart of voodoo culture. Some locals believe the Axeman was a spirit, a manifestation of the city's collective anxiety. The timing coincided with the end of the war and the peak of the flu pandemic. Was the Axeman a real person taking advantage of the chaos? Or was he a boogeyman created by a traumatized society? Some say he was a rival grocer eliminating competition. Others say he was a drifter who moved on to the next city. But the lack of closure is what keeps the story alive. The human mind craves resolution. We want to know who did it. We want to know why. But sometimes history does not give us answers. It only gives us questions. What we do know is this: the technique required skill. Chopping through a door quietly, efficiently, without waking the entire household, takes strength and precision. This was not a random act of violence. It was calculated. It was hunting. And the fact that he was never caught suggests he was someone the community did not suspect, someone invisible. He could have been the man who delivered your milk. He could have been the neighbor who waved hello. He could have been anyone. That is the true horror. Not the axe, but the uncertainty. Not the blood, but the silence that followed. The Mad Axeman panic remains one of America's most chilling unsolved mysteries. It reminds us that sometimes the monsters are not under the bed. They are outside the door, waiting for the lights to go out. It reminds us that civilization is thin, and beneath the surface of our quiet streets, danger can lurk in the shadows. The legacy of the Axeman lives on in books and movies, and in the whispers of the French Quarter. Tourists come to walk the streets where he walked. They stand outside the houses where he struck. They listen for the sound of chopping wood. Today, New Orleans is a city of life and music. But if you walk the streets late at night, away from the tourist traps, into the quiet residential areas, listen closely. If you hear the sound of chopping wood, do not wait to see who it is. Just run. The past is not always dead. Sometimes it waits for us in the dark. What do you think? Was the Axeman a human killer, a mafia hitman, or something supernatural? Let me know your theory in the comments below. I read every single one. Your insights help us build a deeper understanding of these dark histories. If you enjoyed this dive into history's dark corners, please share this video with a friend who loves true crime. It helps us grow this community of mystery hunters. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you are notified when we uncover the next secret. We have many more stories waiting in the archives, stories of ghosts, killers, and things that go bump in the night. Your support allows us to keep digging, keep researching, and keep bringing these tales to light. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, lock your doors, and I will see you in the next one.